go into Visual Studio, back to this code base here, and see how to interact with this. And some other examples that I had, I show Python code, which is very common, but we are at the Stata.net presentation, so I'm going to use .NET code. And what I'm doing here is I'm using the OpenAI SDK to this service that I have set up in Azure, and I'm now interacting with it. So the first thing I do is I set up a system message, which is that thing we had in OpenAI here, where I said, hey, you are an AI that answers in a single word. Well, here I set it up differently. I said, hey, you're a friendly and funny chap, used to amuse an online audience. You respond as if you're John Cleese from Monty Python, but said in an old English medieval way, so an old medieval peasant, basically. And I'm using one of the models I've deployed. And then I start, this is just a console app, and I just get console input. And as you get input, I then send that into OpenAI and have an answer. And I just go round and round and round until somebody types exit. And so I could pop that up and I could show that and I could say hello, and this sends it into this chat API, and it responds back, verily greetings and salutation to thee, my good comrade. How does thou fare on this fine day? So it takes this instruction that I gave it to pretend to be John Cleese, essentially, and I could now interact with it, and I could say, tell us a short story, and it would go on and come up with some completely original new story in the voice of John Cleese. And in this case, I'm getting all the response at once rather than trickling it in like ChatGPT does, but I could do that as well. The advantage of getting it all at once is that I can then check it and have the AI actually check upon itself. And so there's different ways of doing this. But so it comes up, and I'm not going to read through this story, but you can watch the recording later and see what it actually said. So that's the very basics of interacting with it. And you can see creating a simple chat client completely from scratch takes a handful of lines of code. It's not very difficult. And by the way, you could probably have GitHub Copilot write that for you and then fine tune it a little bit. So not a difficult thing to do. Goes back to the question we had before. I'm a new C# developer. How do I do that? It's just not very hard.